Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're jumping into a highly anticipated page-by-page breakdown of Chapter 31 of More Than a Married Couple But Not Lovers. Before we get into the really sweet stuff, we have to start with this completely innocent quote from Little Hima. It's basically the anchor for the entire chapter. Let's dive right into this chaotic moment. Just look at the visual comedy right here. We've got Jirou and Akari left absolutely speechless. The artist does such a fantastic job capturing their sudden, sheer panic. You've got those heavy blushing lines, the totally blank, terrified stares, the sweat drops. It's perfect. It's such a great icebreaker, throwing their fake marriage right under the hilarious scrutiny of kindergartner logic. All right, let's dial it back a bit. Section 1. So, taking a look at this page, we get this incredibly cozy domestic setup. Jirou, Akari, little Leo, and Hima are all just gathered around the hot plate for a pancake party. What really stands out immediately is how naturally Akari takes to this whole environment. When she gives Leo that high five, telling him it was perfect, it really highlights her natural charm and patience with the kids. It honestly feels like looking at a real, functioning family unit. Jirou is playing the responsible one, warning everyone about the hot plate, while Akari is just effortlessly bringing all the fun energy. Speaking of that fun energy, this is where Akari actually playfully leans into Hima's baby joke, instead of just shutting it down. She boldly teases Jirou, suggesting they should ask him to make twins so the kids can have both a boy and a girl to play with. Just look at Jirou's reaction over there. He is totally overwhelmed, just muttering that she's toying with him. But things don't stay peaceful for long. Section 2. Now, what's really fascinating about this spread is how insanely quickly the mood shifts. On the one side, Akari gives Hima this beautifully drawn custom sunflower pancake. It's a super sweet, personalized touch. But then, check out Leo's reaction. The focus zooms in closely on his face, highlighting this dark, brooding expression. His jealousy just spikes instantly. When they suggest making him a matching one, he totally lashes out, calling it too girly and stupid. He even redirects his frustration right at Jirou, calling him a simp and lame for siding with the girls. And that brings us right to the climax of all this sudden tension. Leo, who is just completely unable to handle these complicated, jealous feelings, physically pushes Hima. The panel layout here is super chaotic, which perfectly mirrors the sudden disruption of their peaceful little dinner. Hima crying out, the really sharp action lines of the push, and Leo immediately sprinting away to lock himself in the bathroom. Notice the really beautiful contrast happening here. On one side, Akari instantly steps up as the mother figure, wrapping a crying Hima in a hug and trying to soothe her. But look at what Jirou is doing on the other side. While Akari was busy protecting Hima, she accidentally burned her own hand on the hot plate. And Jirou? He immediately steps up as the caretaker for Akari. He applies a cold compress to her burn, gently wiping away her tears, and tells her, "You're worrying, Akari, so please don't cry." It brilliantly showcases his quiet, incredibly grounded reliability whenever there's a crisis. Once he makes sure the girls are okay, the story shifts over to the bathroom door. And Jirou takes a very calm, measured approach here. He doesn't yell, he doesn't demand that Leo unlock the door. He just sits down on the floor, puts his back to the door, and says, "Listen to me like this, then." It's such an incredibly mature move from Jirou. He's coaxing a highly defensive, upset kid into opening up by just meeting him exactly where he is. And that patience, it totally pays off, revealing Leo's deep vulnerability. Through that closed door, Leo finally just breaks down. In these really intense panels, we see him crying, finally confessing that he feels weak, lame, and just incredibly jealous. He actually shouts, "Why am I losing to you?" He feels like Hima prefers Jirou, who, by the way, Leo perceives as being just as weak as he is, over him. It's a classic, heartbreaking case of a kid just not knowing how to process jealousy and acting out aggressively because of it. So the absolute most crucial point here is how Jirou validates Leo's feelings. Instead of puffing out his chest and acting like some authoritative, flawless adult, Jirou admits his own insecurities. He just sits there and explicitly agrees. "As you said, I'm always weak and lame." He confesses that at home he doesn't even help his mom, and during the marriage practicals he feels like he only causes trouble for Akari. He completely strips away any pretense of being the cool guy just so he can connect with Leo on a real human level. And man, this brilliantly illustrates Jirou's growth. He tells Leo that, yeah, despite being lame, his absolute first priority is to protect everyone in this home. He asks Leo to think about why his favorite superhero is considered cool. It's not about being the physically strongest or the most macho, it's because that hero saves and protects people. He teaches Leo that true strength actually starts with protecting the people closest to you, starting right now with Hima.
It is a genuinely moving piece of advice that completely redefines what it means to be a dependable person.
Then, Jirou brings this high-level philosophical concept right down to practical, actionable advice. He tells Leo exactly how to be a protector today. Start by apologizing to Hima for pushing her. And then he adds this brilliant little secret. Oh, keep protecting her secret. That's way cooler, right? Jirou gives him an honorable, dignified way out of his shame, transforming a massive mistake into a secret mission to be a better guy. And the result is totally immediate. We see the successful resolution of the conflict right here. Peace is fully restored at the dinner table. Leo has apologized, and Akari, being the incredibly perceptive and sweet person she is, made Leo his very own custom lion pancake to match his name. Just look at Leo blushing down there. He feels seen, forgiven, and like he's a real part of the family again. Jirou and Akari basically just successfully navigated a major parenting hurdle together as a team. Notice how the artist deliberately tightens the framing here. The kids are fast asleep between them, which forces Jirou and Akari to whisper across the pillows. It creates this incredibly intimate, private little bubble just for the two of them. Akari looks over at Jirou, who is making this goofy, sloppy, yawning face, and in her internal monologue, she genuinely starts wondering why she finds him so cute. She's listing his faults. He's unreliable, their interests don't match at all, he gets worked up way too easily. Basically, he is absolutely not her type. Yet she realizes that she constantly ends up relying on him and admits to herself that if he came to like her, it would make her really, really happy. Then, Jirou breaks the silence by sincerely thanking her. He looks at her and says, "For always saving me, thank you." It's just this moment of pure, unmasked gratitude. And right as they share this super vulnerable exchange, the artist drops in this beautifully drawn panel, their hands accidentally brushing together beneath that checkered blanket. It's such a tiny bit of physical contact, but the visual emphasis makes it feel absolutely monumental. The eye contact here is intense. The pacing of the story just slows way, way down. We get these tight close-ups of their eyes, conveying all those racing, frantic thoughts. Jirou is sweating, he's nervous, and he's clearly fighting his own hesitation. But instead of just pulling away like he normally would, he pushes right through the awkwardness. He gently says her name and simply asks, "Is it okay?" referencing her hand. And then, right when the tension is at its absolute peak, Akari hits us with this brilliant narrative callback. Remember Hima's totally innocent comment from the very beginning of the explainer? Babies are born when people hold hands. Akari actually uses it right here, delivering what is arguably the ultimate romantic and comedic punchline. Which brings us to the final page of the chapter. We get this stunning full-panel shot of Akari. She is blushing profusely, looking incredibly flustered and totally vulnerable as she delivers that final line, "You'll become a papa, you know." She's accepting his hand, fully accepting the intimacy, all while playfully hiding behind the joke they shared earlier. It is just the perfect capstone to a chapter that beautifully explored family, protection, and growing up. Thanks so much for joining me on this breakdown, and we'll catch you next time.